Superhero movies have been the leading genre in movie theaters for more than a decade. Marvel has been dominating the market for many years, but the high number of films and series has also had a negative impact on the quality of the productions. As for the DCEU, with the Suicide Squad and Peacemaker, they were able to bring 2 hits to the screen in 2021 and 2022 respectively. But which movies of our favorite heroes can we look forward to in the next few years? We have browsed through the depths of the web and summarized all the releases with a brief description for you in this video. And of course, there are again quite a lot of promising movies for everyone. Anyway, enough of words, and let's get into the video. The year will begin with Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. The third solo film from Scott Lang, aka Ant-Man, will also introduce the upcoming supervillain Kang to the big screen at last. As the trailer has already revealed to us, Scott, Cassie, Hope, Hank, and Janet are pulled into the quantum realm by a device developed by Scott's daughter. There they discover a universe never seen before. As we can observe, not only are there little animals of all kinds, but also entire civilizations. Moreover, Janet, who has spent years in the quantum realm, appears to keep a dark secret, which she has withheld from her family all this time. In order to escape from the mysterious dimension, they seem to be dependent on the help of a very special person, that of Kang. The latter seems to know Scott, or rather Ant-Man, already, or at least that's how it looks from the first footage we've seen of the film. As with the first 2 parts of Ant-Man, Peyton Reed will direct the sequel, so we can assume that the movie will not be lacking in humor. The Phase 5 film of the MCU will be released on February 17th. The first DC blockbuster we can expect to see on the big screen in the new year is Shazam: Fury of the Gods. In 2019, we were able to see young Billy Batson for the first time when he had the power of the wizard Shazam passed on to him, and since then, he has been living 2 different lives. As we know, Shazam is also part of the DCEU, and in the recently released trailer, we could find all sorts of references to the other superheroes from the franchise. In his second movie, Shazam will have to deal with the Daughters of Atlas. They don't seem too thrilled about the fact that kids have been given the power of the gods, and thus want to reclaim these powers. However, a clash between Shazam and Black Adam will not yet take place in Shazam: Fury of the Gods, even though the anti-hero, who is embodied by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, was originally intended to be Shazam's great adversary. Following the moderate success of Black Adam, though, it remains to be seen how this particular project will play out. Shazam: Fury of the Gods will at least be screened in cinemas from March 17th, and provided that it has as much of a mix of humor and action as the first part, it will certainly be worth a trip to the movies. It's James Gunn's big departure from the MCU before he completely moves on to the competing franchise, the DCEU, and it is arguably the most emotional farewell to what is probably the most chaotic bunch of superheroes the universe has ever seen. Of course, we're talking about the Guardians of the Galaxy in their third and final standalone film, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. As we've already pointed out in 2 videos we've made about the movie, it looks like it's going to be a very touching one. Gunn himself has hinted in some interviews that not all of the Guardians will make it out alive, and especially the story of Rocket, which we already got a glimpse of in the first trailer, should become very tragic. The Guardians will have to deal with 2 powerful opponents in Volume 3. One is, of course, Adam Warlock, and the other is the High Evolutionary, who also happens to be the creator of Rocket. Whether things will continue with the Guardians after this film is not yet known. Hollywood insiders, however, agree that no one from the current cast will be available for another Guardians of the Galaxy movie. That's why it's all the more important for every fan to rush to the movie theaters starting May 5th, 2023, because that's the day the movie premieres. Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse was probably the most successful superhero movie made by Sony in 2018. Not only was it very well received by critics and fans, it was also showered with countless awards, including an Oscar for Best Animated Film. While Miles Morales had to bid farewell to his Spider-Man friends at the end of the first part, in this new installment, he is pulled into the Spider-Verse and must come to the rescue of his friends in various dimensions. At the same time, not every version of Spider-Man looks to be a friend, as we saw in the latest trailer. Besides, we think every fan is dying to see what will happen next with him and Spider-Gwen, as the two have already gotten a little closer in the first part. The movie will be released on June 2nd and is a must-see for anyone who has watched more than enough of the MCU and DCEU. She is considered the Superman paradox in the MCU, and is nevertheless more than popular among fans, yet we've only been able to see her in 2 films. However, that will change in 2023. The talk is, of course, of Carol Danvers, aka Captain Marvel. She returns to cinemas in her second standalone film, Captain Marvel 2: The Marvels. Well, she won't be all alone, for she'll be assisted by Ms. Marvel and Monica Rambeau. Ms. Marvel, whose real name is Kamala Khan, made her first appearance in the MCU with her series of the same name in the summer of 2022. And as for Monica, we already know her from WandaVision. Both of them got superpowers, and in the post-credit scene of Ms. Marvel, we can already see Carol as well. Who exactly will be the bad guy in the movie is not yet known, but we think it won't be too long before we get to see the first images or even a trailer for the movie. It is scheduled for release in the second half of the year, starting July 28th, assuming nothing changes before then. Not only the MCU and DCE are expanding in the new year, the Sony universe around Venom is also getting a new anti-hero. This is Kraven the Hunter. As the name suggests, Kraven is a big game hunter who loves to hunt down powerful and big trophies. Thus, over time, it happens that he also goes on the hunt for superheroes. His favorite trophy that he would like to have would be Spider-Man. Kraven's real name is Sergei Kravenov, and in the comics, he is the half-brother of the Chameleon, also known as Dmitry Smerdyakov. Kraven the Hunter is played by Aaron Taylor Johnson. He should already be known to any Marvel fan as Wanda Maximoff's brother, Quicksilver. Whether it will come to a clash with Venom or Morbius in the movie is not yet known. However, signs that Sony is planning to put a Sinister Six movie into production sooner rather than later are becoming stronger as a result of the film. Kraven is the last supervillain still missing for the Union of Supervillains. Also involved will be Calypso and the Foreigner. Thus, there won't be a lack of baddies. The movie is expected to be released in theaters on October 6th, 2022, and should there be any changes to the date, you'll be sure to find it in our weekly news. We do have to wait for a long time, but in about a year, Jason Momoa will return to his starring role as Aquaman. The first part was considered one of the most successful DCEU movies ever, and therefore, many fans are eagerly awaiting the sequel. The movie will see the return of Black Manta, who did survive the last fight with Aquaman. Orm, better known as Ocean Master, will also be back to give Arthur Curry a hard time. Also likely to be back is Amber Heard. There were many questions surrounding her role in the film after she got into trouble with her ex-boyfriend Johnny Depp during a civil trial. As for the plot, sadly, not much is really known yet. But after such a long shooting period, we can only hope that the film can match the quality of the previous one. Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom will be released on December 25th, 2023, right on time for Christmas Day. The DC animated series Legion of Superheroes will also get its own movie in 2023. The movie is the sequel to the series of the same name. In it, the future superheroes train to finally join the Legion. One of them is Kara, also known as Supergirl. Following the destruction of Krypton, however, she finds it difficult to adjust to her new home planet of Earth, despite the fact that her cousin Superman does everything in his power to help her. It's not until she arrives at the Superhero Academy and makes new friends that things start to improve for her. Yet her happiness is short-lived, as an organization called the Dark Circle tries to destroy the Academy. The animated film is expected to be released on Blu-ray and digital on February 7th, 2023. Many were skeptical about how the new Batman with Robert Pattinson in the lead role will turn out. But the Twilight Star has proven us wrong by showing that he can do much more than being a mere vampire. The Batman was certainly one of the darkest, but also one of the best superhero movies of 2022, which makes us all the more excited for the second part. Although it won't hit theaters until 2024, it is already one of the most highly anticipated releases. We also already know who the bad guy is going to be, since we got to see him at the end of the first film. And who else could it be but the Joker? He is played by Barry Keoghan, who most superhero fans among you might have already seen in Eternals. In a 5-minute unpublished scene, you were already able to see the first conversation between Batman and the Joker, and the performance of the supervillain is already enough to send shivers down your spine. Whether Paul Dano as the Riddler and Colin Farrell as the Penguin will find their way back into the story is still unknown, but the latter will get his own series anyway. The movie is expected to be released in 2024. A more specific date has unfortunately not been announced yet. A reboot has finally made it back into the MCU, although most of you may not have known that it was based on a Marvel movie. We're talking about the vampire hunter Blade from the 1998 film of the same name, who was played by Wesley Snipes at the time and goes out hunting vampires at night. However, he himself is a half-vampire, as his mother was bitten by a vampire during her pregnancy. Since he was born, he is also known as Daywalker. He has the same power as the nocturnal creatures, yet the sun doesn't bother him, and garlic and silver don't seem to weaken him either. In the new part, he will be played by Mahershala Ali, who was last seen in Swan Song. Kit Harington is also likely to make his second appearance in the MCU. He was introduced to the MCU in Eternals, and will finally take on the role of the Black Knight. How the vampire hunter will fit into the MCU remains to be seen, as his first movies were mainly dark and gory, which is nothing you would recognize from past movies. The provisional release date so far is September 6th, 2024, but a lot can still change in the meantime. This was the first part of our superhero preview of the next few years. Which movie are you most looking forward to so far? Let us know in the comments, and if you like this video, feel free to leave a thumbs up.